Hi there guys, my name is Jacob and welcome back to the channel. Now if you are one of those people that like my solar videos, then this video is for you because I'm back with my final month of stats for 2025. This video is going to be all about December's solar stats. Now, was it a good month? Well, let's be honest, it's December. It's never going to be one of the better months of the year. But did it end up being the worst month of the year? Maybe. Let's find out. But just before I do that, for anybody who has not watched this channel before, I'll just give you a quick rundown of what my solar panel and battery system consists of, just so you know roughly where these figures are coming from. So I have a 5.7 kilowatt hour solar panel system on my roof. That consists of 13 panels. I've got a 9.5 kilowatt hour battery, which is a generation 3 model from GivEnergy. I've got a 5 kilowatt hour hybrid inverter from GivEnergy. And I've also got an EV charger, and again, it's from GivEnergy. So I've got kind of the whole GivEnergy package, and I'm really happy with it and would absolutely recommend it to anyone. So far, you know, I'm more than a year into it now, and it's been absolutely faultless. So I would absolutely recommend it. And another quick popular question that I always get is, what tariff am I on for my energy? So I'm with Octopus Energy. I'm on Octopus Go for my imported energy. So that's the energy I take from the grid. I'm on outgoing Octopus for the energy that I send to the grid. And I'm on one of their kind of fixed gas tariffs as well for my gas usage. So those are the tariffs that I'm on. Octopus Go is one of those tariffs where you get quite an expensive day rate, but you get a very cheap night rate. It's 8.5 pence per kilowatt hour on a night time. I think it's about 25 pence in the day. So it's a massive difference and, you know, a massive incentive to make the most of that cheap night rate. And that is exactly what I do. Octopus Outgoing is a tariff that just pays me a flat rate of 15 pence per kilowatt hour that I send to the grid. Now that works out for me really well. There are better tariffs where they will pay you more per kilowatt hour, but only for certain windows of the day, such as 4 till 7. So you can obviously make a lot more money sending energy back to the grid in those hours, but for the rest of the day, they will pay you quite a lot less. So I guess for me, outgoing Octopus just kind of averages out as a really nice flat rate across the year. I think for now I'm going to stay on that, but I will have a little research at the start of the year and just see if there is any other better way of doing it for 2026. But as I mentioned in my previous video, I ended up having a zero bill for all of my energy for 2025. So I really can't complain so far of the setup that I have and how well it's performed. But if you are not with Octopus Energy, have a look down in the description box of this video and click on the referral link for Octopus Energy. You can get yourself £50 of free credit just simply for switching to them using my link. And I'll get £50 as well. So it's a you know, win-win for both of us. So if you're thinking of switching and you're not with Octopus, have a look at that link down below. Right then guys, let's get into December's solar stats. So total month's generation was 116.9 kilowatt hours for the month. Now this was down quite a lot on November, actually more than I thought it would be. November's was 193, so it was roughly 40% lower in December than it was in November. So that's, you know, for me, that's a really substantial drop off, and I didn't actually expect it to be that much. But it is what it is. December has, of course, the shortest days throughout the month. You know, the shortest amount of sunlight and daylight hours. So, you know, realistically, you would expect it to be the worst month of the year. And for me, it absolutely was. You know, little sneak peek for January. January's already started off way better than December. So I'm expecting January to pick up quite a bit, but obviously it's early days. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, December for 2025 was absolutely the worst month of the year. The best day of December was actually the last day, 31st of December. And that ended up giving me 10.6 kilowatt hours for that day. So as you can see, that's the best day of the month, 10 kilowatt hours. It's really not that much at all. The worst day, unfortunately, was the 18th, and I got 128 watts. So not even 1 kilowatt hour. And that was a really dark, gloomy day. The sun was absolutely nowhere to be seen. It was just grey, thick, dark cloud all day. So unfortunately, that is the reality sometimes, that, solar panels are fantastic year round, but you are going to get days, especially in the winter time, that they just simply don't generate all that much. But that is where, with a battery and a cheap overnight tariff, I still don't need to pay for expensive daytime energy, because I can charge my battery overnight on a cheap rate, and I can use that cheap energy throughout the whole day. So I still do not get penalised and have to use daytime energy. My battery is plenty big enough to cover a full day's use. It would actually probably cover a couple of days' use, just to give you an idea of how long 9.5 kilowatt hours would last. Now, across the whole month, I should say, my panels have Optimisers fitted to them. And that basically just means that if any of the panels get shaded and their performance drops, it doesn't bring all the panels down with them. It can kind of isolate that one panel, and the rest of the panels can just work optimally. So it basically just makes my whole system run far more efficiently. And from those Optimisers, had I not had them, I would have lost 19.2 kilowatt hours for the month, which is a huge amount when I'm only generating 116 kilowatts for the month. That I actually worked it out. 16% of my overall month's generation would have been lost had I not had the Optimisers. So in wintertime, the Optimisers are really holding their own and kind of proving their worth, so to speak. Because across the year, to be quite honest, they're not really worth their money. But in the wintertime, they are really kind of proving that it was a good decision to have them. Now, from a return on investment point of view, they're going to take a long time to pay off the Optimisers. But from just me, my personal joy and excitement of looking at the data and everything, I'm actually really glad I had them, because ultimately I want my system to be working as efficiently as I can get it running, and having the Optimisers allows for that to happen. Now, total generation for the entire year, barring a couple of months in January because I had my system installed 2025, about the third week of January. So barring the first few weeks, my total annual generation figure was 5.66 megawatt hours. So that is 5,660 kilowatt hours for the year. So I am really pleased with that figure. When I signed up to have solar, my installer first told me that I should expect about 4,500, somewhere in that range. So to have achieved 5,600 in my very first year, I am, very, very happy with. And it just shows, how well the system can perform in the right conditions. Right then, let's move on to my energy costs for December. So we've gone through the generation figures. Let's have a look how much, Octopus charged me for December. Now, electricity costs, and as I mentioned before, of course I have to pay the standing charge, but I charge my battery overnight, and I do have an EV as well, so I have to charge my EV overnight as well. So electricity costs, including the standing charge for December, was £42.58, and that was for taking 315 kilowatt hours from the grid, and roughly £12.50 of that £42.58 figure was for charging my EV. So, that gives you an idea of the split of that. And for the EV, I actually drove around 500 miles, I think nearly 550 miles for the month of December. So roughly £12.50 got me 550 miles, which I think is an exceptional figure. It just shows how cheap it is to drive an EV. and one of the many reasons why I switched over from diesel to electric. My gas bill for the month, including the standing charge, was £41.53. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be thinking that figure is very low for central heating gas costs, and it is. One reason for that is actually we did go away for 1 week out of December. We actually went to Belgium. So for a week, of course, we weren't home, we didn't have the heating on, so of course those costs aren't included. But ultimately, yeah, my gas costs are quite low, and I've mentioned this many times on the channel. We substitute the gas central heating sometimes with electric heating, and that is because having cheap overnight energy that I can store in a battery means I can use that cheap energy in the daytime to run electric heaters. And that actually is a very economical way to heat up a room, far cheaper than putting the central heating on. So if you can get away with it, sometimes we just use electric heaters. And that, of course, over the course of a month, will save us a large amount of money on our gas central heating bill. So that is one of the ways that we keep that bill quite a bit lower than, I guess, the average figure would be for most households. Export income, the final charge or, bit of money for the bill. Export income was £14.83. So that is what I got paid from Octopus for sending additional energy back to the grid. So even though it was a really poor month for solar and generation figures as a whole, I still managed to export energy. So on some days, where the sun does come out and there is decent generation, I managed to export some of that. And as I said, they paid me £14.83. And I actually ended up sending 98.8 kilowatt hours to the grid. November's figure was £21, so slight drop off from November to December, but that's no surprise because of course the generation also dropped off a lot as well. So my total December energy bill was unfortunately a charge to my account of £69.28. So, it wasn't a month where I got a positive credit, but that's fine because as I've mentioned in my last video, I actually generated enough export income across the whole year to where that export income actually paid every single bill for the entire year. So, I did not have to pay a penny out of my pocket to cover any of my energy bills for 2025. And I think that is an incredible achievement for a system that cost me £9,000. And I've roughly saved in the first year, I think around £1,400. And that is energy savings from electric, gas, and of course, not buying diesel anymore for the car because I now run an EV. So £1,400, I think, for the first year of savings against that £9,000 investment. Personally, I think that is a really good start to paying itself back. But let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you think that is a respectable return on investment? Or do you think I should have put my money elsewhere? Of course, if you have solar panels and a battery system yourself, let me know down in the comments what your December figures were like. Remember to hit the like button and the subscribe button. And of course, check out the links in the description box. As I said, there's an Octopus referral link, there's a buy me a coffee link, and there's a couple of others as well. So check them out. If you made it this far, of course, as always, thank you for watching. And guys, I'll catch you in the next one.